Hi guys, welcome to the video. Today I'm going to do a different concept. I'm going to show you a project that I did in my just in my free time. So I was thinking instead of doing like a 3 hour long video creating this project, coding it from scratch. I'm just going to go through the code, go through the project, explain like the concepts. There are a lot of information for this project. This is not just a regular project. There are some very cutting edge technologies here, including Next.js, server-side rendering, GraphQL, Typescript, style components, and much more interesting stuff. We're going to work with the Rick and Morty GraphQL API. So there are going to be a lot of things here. Let's first demonstrate a little bit the project, and I will tell you a little bit about server-side rendering and why I decided to use server-side rendering for this project. So first of all, you can see this is my home page. By the way, this project is uploaded to Vercel, so I will post the link, and you could also go and visit the finished website. So anyway, SSR, server-side rendering, like the main reason to use it is to improve your SEO. You can see that this website actually have headers. So you can see here, let me actually show you something. If I go to view page source, let me show you something interesting. So I want to go to so let's see. This is the description, Rick and Morty app created with Next.js GraphQL. This right here is a description that I wrote in the head context. There will be support for dynamic titles. You can see here a title, Rick and Morty GraphQL, dynamic meta tags, head tags basically. Okay, so found the body, and you can see actually all the content. Rick and Morty GraphQL app, the H2, what should you explore? You can see actually all the content inside the page source. This is a very good way to improve your SEO, and you can achieve it with SSR. You could also achieve it with static site generation, but I will explain you in a moment why I decided not to do it. So let's explore a little bit about the project. So let's say that I want to view characters. Basically every page, everything you see here is a generic component. So for example, this H1, this title is going to be generic. This pagination is going to be generic. Every page here is going to have pagination. So we're going to use dynamic pagination. We're going to use let me show you. If I go to some kind of character, let's say we go here to Morty, you can see these chips. These chips are going to be a generic component, and I basically used the best practices, and I treated this small project as a big one. So you will see the structure and the use of TypeScript and generic components. And okay, so let's say that I'm on the character page. You can see the list of episodes that this character is casted. So if I click on any episode, I will it will take me directly to the episode page. So the route for this is going to be episodes and slash the episode ID. So let me show you something else. Let's go back to the characters, and let's say that I want to go to the next page. Click on next. You can see that now instead of changing the route, I'm changing the query parameter over here. Basically everything here is URL based. So if I go to previous and next, and if I go to different page or a sub page, everything is URL based. Let me show you the other pages. So if I go, for example, to episodes, you can see that basically the page is going to have the same title, it's going to have the same pagination, it's going to have, by the way, this component, this kind of list item, or however you want to call it, the list is going to be also generic. So the list is going to get two options. It's going to get a list of episodes or a list of locations. And by the type of the result that the list is going to receive, it's going to render different UI. So I'll show you how to use it with TypeScript and TypeScript generics. So basically, everything here is reusable, starting from the pagination to the list, to the chips, to the titles. Everything here is as much reusable as possible. Everything is actually connected over here. So if we go to any of the characters here, you will go to the character. If you go to episodes, you can click off the title of the episode and you will go to the single episode page. You can click on a character and then you will see the list of episodes that this character is casted, and you get the point. You can go through basically through any page is connected to the other pages. Yeah, so basically this is in short what is the application is going to be. Another cool thing about GraphQL is that the results are actually cached. If I go to characters now, you can see that it happens instantly. I didn't wait. If I go back to Jerry Smith, the data is already cached, so it's like instant load of the data. Yeah, so this was the demonstration of the app. Now let's go to the actual code and I will start walking through the pages, zoom in a little bit, and let's start. First of all, let's go through the package.json, like to see what packages we're going to use. So GraphQL and Apollo client we're going to use them, of course, for the GraphQL. Actually, this is a Next application, so let me show you real quick. If you go to Next, to the official website, you can go to the getting started section, and here you can see the command. You can use npx create next app latest. You can use yarn to do it also. Fortunately, I forgot to make the TypeScript flag, so I had to do it manually. But if you want a TypeScript project, you can just copy these commands and it will auto-generate you a TypeScript project ready for use. Yeah, so anyways, we're going to use, as I said, styled components, and there are dev dependencies that you also need, types and TypeScript itself. So basically, this is the package.json. It's very slim, as you can see. Yeah, so let's see. In the high level, the folders actually, when I think about, didn't use the hooks folder. We can remove it, but usually you will have also hooks in your project. So basically the overall view is very straightforward. You have components, you have GraphQL, which going to include your GraphQL client and queries and mutations. Interfaces, folder for layouts, because I'm using page layout and main layout over here. We have styles, which are going to take only the global styles for the application. So some basic styles like font family, like some overrides of HTML components, and the usual stuff like to cancel padding and margin. And also I used here actually color white because my background is going to be kind of dark color. Yeah, so this is the way that you actually create global styles with styled components. It's not actually, it's not very complicated. The only thing that you need to notice here that I'm using backticks. The convention of styled components is to use backticks for everything that you want to use inside. So we create these styled components variable and export it to use in the app file. So we can close this. This is not very interesting. What is interesting about Next.js, the difference between Next.js, one of the biggest differences are file-based routing. So everything that goes inside the page folder is going to be a route. What do I mean by that? If I go to my home page, this is a route. So this is the main route. So basically, index is treated as nothing. So this is my actual root file. So you can see actually here the code for this page. If I create a folder, for example, for characters, the route is going to be / characters. But why do I need a folder? Why don't I just create a characters file? This is because I'm using nested routes over here. Every folder actually except locations, so I could actually delete this folder and place this index.tsx file in the root of the pages folder, and I just could call it locations, and it would still be the same. So yeah, so but usually to organize it, you should probably do it inside folders and just place index.tsx file inside the folder. Yeah, another thing that you're probably asking, what is this? What is this route? So it basically means that this parameter is dynamic. So characters / anything is going to be this ID. So this is a dynamic route. If I go to characters, let me actually go to characters. You can see that now I'm in the characters route. And if I go to / anything, 7 is going to be the ID. So this is the ID over here. So in Next.js, there are also some built-in kind of pages. So there is a document page which I actually had to. This is actually a snippet that I took from GitHub. This is to use styled components with SSR. I did not look at it too much. It's just creating some what is this style server style sheets. So anyway, this is, you have to actually use this file in order to use styled components with Next.js. You could probably find an example of this if you Google how to use styled components in Next.js. You will see this example. So just use this document from there. The app file is the actual root file for the application. So in the app file, it's nothing it's nothing special. I'm just using the Apollo provider that is coming from Apollo client with the GraphQL client. This is to actually have the GraphQL client available for all the components. When you get a new Next.js application, you will see you will get this app file, but without the Apollo provider and without the global styles that I pasted. By the way, the global styles coming from here, as I showed you before. And this is one of the layouts that I'm using. This is the main layout. So I'll show you in a second what is the main layout. Is basically just for some styling. Every page has this head context. So this head context is the support that I told you that we have for meta tags and for title and for basically all the uh, head tags. You will see how it is connected to the page layout. Every page is wrapped with this page layout, and I'm passing the head context to it. So here, the head context is going to be title of Rick and Morty GraphQL API, just Rick and Morty GraphQL, and an array of meta tags. So I can specify here objects, and then I can say what is the name, what is the content, what is the key, I think. Uh, Actually, I can see the interface for head context, and you can see that in the meta tag, basically the head context is a title and array of meta tags, and each meta tag can has property, name, content, key, all optional fields. So I'm passing here, I could also pass here something like, let's say, uh, by the way, in TypeScript you can click on control space and you will see what the possibilities that we have. So I could say key or something, or what else we have, property, but this is what I decided to place for the home page. If we go to we are over here. So this title for a single character, I used character and the name of the character. So dynamic titles for this is actually very simple, and look how powerful it is. I can pass to the page layout the head context, and you know, you will actually have dynamic titles over here, which is awesome in my opinion. Yeah, so let's continue. So the main page is actually, let me show you the UI one more time. If I go to the main page, so we just have here the title, subtitle, this background, and these three cards over here. So basically, yeah, so called this component header. By the way, styled components, why I like them so much. You can see that I can give, instead of, yeah, so let's say that this is actually a section, right? But instead of calling it a section, I can give it an actual meaningful name, and in the UI I can see it so clearly what every component doing. So background wrapper is the actual background wrapper, so I know what is the meaning of this. And header and content, everything is so clear and organized with styled components. It's also one of the amazing things that I can actually pass props. So what I'm doing here, background wrapper, I'm passing here the background image as a prop. I can say that background image is a string, and I'm taking the props. Here I say that the background image is going to be this background image. And where is this background image coming from? It's actually coming from here, which is insane how powerful style, how, you know, styled components is so much easier to use compared to SCSS in my opinion. Right now at my job I'm using SCSS and it is a nightmare. So styled components is so clean, so powerful. You can pass props, you can do basically everything you can think about doing in JavaScript just with CSS. So anyways, yeah, so this is the home page. Look how clean it is. Inside the content I have the cards container. What is cards container? It's coming from components. Oh yeah, another thing. I can say that this is a little bit of a negative thing about Next.js. is that I have to separate the, let's say that it was regular React application. I could do something like, you know, I have these locations, for example, and here I can create a folder, let's say components. And usually in the React application, I would place components that are related to locations. Yeah, so this is very convenient. In Next.js, you cannot do it. So in order to make it organize, what I created here is inside the components folder, there are pages component and shared components. So the pages components are components that are related to pages. So basically I can have the same structure over here in the pages components of the pages. So home page, what I have in the home page, I have the cards container. Okay, cool. So let's see what is inside cards container. Just the 3 cards. Link, I call them link card. So this is actually a link card. So let's look a little bit on that. So the link card is going to take image URL for the background image. It's going to take a name and a link URL. Very simple. Every card has this background image, kind of a title and link. So I'm passing the props over here, and inside the card itself, I'm rendering the card with the props. By the way, if you don't know, uh, eh, let's say it differently. There are a few ways you can put the interface in the top of the component and pass it like this. This is usually what I think is the best practice. You could put the interface down, but it's not very. Uh, when I use style components, the interface should be at the top, the component, and then the styles at the bottom. This is how I organize the code. So the link card takes card props, and yeah, so just as a on click, the on click is going to push to the link URL. Nothing, actually, nothing interesting here. We have an image wrapper again and the content, and everything is pretty much, the concept here is pretty much the same as the background itself. Yeah, so this was the home page. Now we're going to actually dive inside the other pages, and you will see how the actual server-side rendering is working inside Next.js, sorry. Okay, before we dive into the pages, let me actually show you the layouts. So what do we have? We have main layout. As I told you, it's just some CSS. So we're going to take children as a React node and pass them over here. And the container for the main layout is just some styles. Yeah, so nothing interesting here. Now the interesting part is the page layout. So let me show you how I provide the support for the head context. So we have interface with page layout props, and we're going to get children as a React node and head context. You already saw what head context is inside the interface. So I'm passing the head context, and we have title and meta. So title is the title. So I'm creating a head with Next.js head. I'm creating here a title tag, and I'm creating meta tags. So meta tags can have property, content, key, name, and I'm just rendering meta tags according to the array that I have. It's actually amazing how simple you can achieve this. Just creating this head with Next.js. Another thing that I added for the page layout is navigation bar. So if we already here, Let's see what is the navigation bar. So if we go to components, shared, we have over here the shared components. So as I told you, we have chip, containers, list, and pagination, stuff like that, titles. But let's see the navigation bar. So just 3 links, mapping through the links, and yeah, so this is the navigation. Nothing here actually special because we don't have any authentication or stuff like that. The links are going to be the same for each user. So we're just rendering links from the link also is next link. What else do we need to look over here? Style link. So yeah, so instead of using a, I'm using styled link to actually style the links. So yeah, this is the navbar, and I think this is the time to dive inside the pages. So let's actually go first to the characters page. Okay, so the characters page. Again, I'm having the head context that I'm passing to the page layout. So I'm not passing any meta tags. It's not. I don't think it's necessary, but I'm passing a title of all characters. So basically this one, all characters. And look at this. I'm receiving a data. So I'm receiving a data from the server side rendering. So if I scroll all the way down, we get this function from Next.js, get server side props. And this is the magic of server side rendering. So basically what I'm doing, I'm checking if I'm having a query parameter of page. I need this in order to get dynamic data from the GraphQL. And this is the way that I do a GraphQL call inside the SSR section. I'm using the GraphQL client that I think I didn't show you. Yeah, so let's go to GraphQL client. This is just a new Apollo client and I'm exporting it. So let's go back to the characters. So GraphQL.query, I specify over here the query that this is the response that I supposed to get. Every every response I defined it with an interface. So if we go to interfaces, you can see that I defined basically everything in the application. So if we go to characters interface, I can see that I created the character interface, single character, and the character's response is going to be structured like this. So I know already what is the response is going to come from the API. So I created interfaces with characters with basically all the responses to make sure that I can use TypeScript properly and to get me like all the info that I need. So if I know the structure of the response, I can actually know all the fields over here and all the fields where I'm using this. Yeah, I'm just doing here a map, but basically you get the point. I can destructure everything. Let's say const data, because I know the response and I defined it. I can see that I have characters inside here, and inside characters, what do we have? We have info, we have results. Everything is typed. Everything is very easy to use and convenient. So this is why it's important to use TypeScript. So basically I'm doing this query of get characters all the queries are going to be inside the GraphQL queries. I don't have actually don't have any mutations, but I have queries over here, and I specify the variables. So in this case, the variable is the page from the query parameter. So if I have here a query, so if I click next, the page is going to be 2. So if I have a page, making it from string to number by adding this plus, because it's supposed to be number. And if I don't have a page, supply 1 as a page. So on the first page, now I will not see it, because if I go previous, the page is going to be 1, but if I didn't have this query, the page would be treated as 1. Yeah, so this is how you do the server-side query, and you pass the props as data. You can see that I get the data over here, and I pass the data through the props, and then I get it in the client. And this is actually everything that is to server-side rendering. So I'm getting the function, get server-side props, getting the data, and passing it to the component. Then over here I'll already have the data, and I can do whatever I want with this. So basically you can see here we have the pagination, and again the pagination is going to receive all these props. So we're going to have count. This is all coming from GraphQL, from the GraphQL response. So count, next, previous, pages, going to pass the router. In Next.js we have a router as a use router, and I'm passing the router to do a push to different URL, because I'm going to need the pagination to do this stuff, and the path name. You know what, let's go now. I think it's a good time to actually go to the pagination and see how the generic pagination actually works. So after I will show you the pagination, we're going to go through the query itself, and I'm going to explain you how GraphQL actually works. So let's go to pagination, and again you will have the interface with the pagination props. We have all the types over here. This is a OR type, so it's possible to have a number or null. So we have the pagination, and we're passing the router. I'm getting the query from the router, and basically we have two functions in the pagination: handle next and handle previous. So if we don't have a next or a previous, we don't do anything. If I'm on the first or on the last page, if I go click on previous, nothing is going to happen. But if we do have next or previous, actually I'm going to run. So what I want to do is to first, I want to manipulate the query parameter, and I want to change the page to the next page, and actually to push. So let's say I'm over here, the next page is going to be number 2. So when I click on next, I'm pushing the route with query of page equals to 2. And when the query is changed, so this server side get server side props is going to run the query, and basically we're going to fetch the new data. So these are the two functions that we have in the pagination, and this is the UI. So we have container, we have the counts result, we have the current page, and we have the all the pages, and we have the buttons. So this is the pagination that we have for each page. results, pages, and buttons for each page. Results, pages, buttons. Yeah, so this is the actual pagination. Now let's go back to the characters page, and I want to actually show you what is this get characters query, and we're going to go a little bit through the GraphQL, and we're going to also I want to go to the playground and show you how it looks over there. So get characters is coming from characters. So if we go to queries, characters, and this is the query this is how the query looks. So we define how the query is going to be called. We define that that is GraphQL, and then we open backticks and we say that this is a query of get characters, and I pass here variables. So here I pass a page and a filter. This types are coming from the actual GraphQL schema that I will show you in the playground in a second, and I specify what type these characters is actually the query itself that is defined in the GraphQL schema. So we're going to pass the page as the page and the filter as the filter. This is I wanted to actually use filter also to do a search over here, but I decided to leave it. Maybe I will show you in the GraphQL playground how it actually works, but you can edit yourself even if you want to. So I define what I want from the query over here. So we have info with all the info fields and results with, again, in GraphQL you just define whatever you want to receive from the query. So let me show you in the playground. If I go to the documentation, and you can see that this is the GraphQL playground. Let me try to zoom a little bit. Okay, cool. Let's start from fresh. And where is the docs? I show document. Okay. So this is actually the docs for the GraphQL for this specific schema. So we can see here all the options that we can get. So we can see that we can get, for example, characters, and you can pass here a page as integer or a filter as filter character, and I'm receiving characters. So I can see what I'm going to receive in the characters. So I have info, which is count, pages, next, previous. I can receive results, which is the character array, and I can see all the fields over here, ID, name, status, and I can say in my GraphQL query what fields do I want to get back. So ID, name, status, species, type, gender, image, all these fields I want to get from get characters. And I can see that you can see that I didn't specify here, for example, location and origin and location, because I don't want them in my characters query, so I'm not going to receive them. But inside a single character, I do want the origin, the location, the list of episodes. So it's very flexible, and you can choose whatever you want to do with this. So let me actually show you an example in real time. So let's say that I want to do a query over here. Yeah, so let's do characters query. So I can specify, I should specify the page. So page, I think it's page. Yeah, I don't think it's actually necessary, so let's do it without it. So inside characters, what do I want? Let's say that I want results, and inside the results I want the name. Let's run this query, and you can see that I have the data with characters and the results: Rick, Sanchez, Morty, Summer, and so on. Basically, this is a basic query that I built, that I run. And to pass parameters, I can say, let's say over here page, and I can say the page is going to be 3, for example. Run this query, you can see different results. Big boobs waitress, big head Morty, and so on. And this is actually the third page. And also I can do the same for filter. So let's say here, filter, and what is the filter going to be? What are the options? I think, oh yeah, so let's filter by name. So let's say name, I don't want this page anymore. So filter name, and let's say it's supposed to be string. Let's say Morty. Morty? Yeah, Morty. And I'm getting all the results with Morty. So Morty Smith, Alien Morty, and so on. So basically you get the point. You can have this playground to check the queries, to play with this and actually get to copy the query to the app itself and use it over here. Very convenient, very efficient, because you choose everything that you want from the query for each use case. So for example, for character, I'm having more fields. So I'm having also the origin, the location, the episode, and you get the point. So to be honest with you, all the pages are pretty much the same. So if I go to episodes, you will see pretty much the same over here. So we have the page layout with head context. We have the UI rendered over here. We have the title. We have pagination and list. List is something interesting that I will talk about in a moment. But you can see that the concept for every page. Yeah, forgot to delete this one. Every concept is just get server-side props. I'm doing the query over here. I'm doing the variable of the page, and I'm getting the data, and I'm passing the data as props. And basically, it's very simple. You see how the UI is very simple. I have page layout, content container. By the way, this is a container that I'm using just to get some styles. If we go to shared, you can see container over here, content container. And it, again, it's very similar to characters and very similar to locations. You can see actually the same structure basically. So we have a list, we have pagination, title, content container, page layout. Again, at the bottom, get server-side props with the query. Every time it's different query, every time it's different data, but it's actually pretty much the same. So the next thing that I want to show you is the list. The list is one of the kind of complicated components because it can receive results as an array, and it can receive also array of locations and also array of episodes. So let's see how I actually created this list. Before I show you the list, let me show you some differences between the singular and the multiple pages. Yeah, so in the characters, in the character page, let me show you. The first main difference is that I'm using the head context inside inside the component, and by doing that I can achieve dynamic titles. So I'm using the name here that coming from the props. Yeah, so anyways, this is one difference. And I wanted to show you another way that you can structure your style component structure. So you can see here, this is a little bit more. This looks a little bit more like the SCSS, that everything is actually nested inside each other, so you have to actually do it in SCSS um, to achieve unique classes for every page slash every part in your system. But I think it's also getting very messy and very not readable when you have big CSS files, and you need to actually understand what is going inside what, and which class is going to be inside. Like, you actually have to learn the structure of this. And the plus with styled components is that it renders unique um, classes for each styled component. So if we go to the UI, I can actually show you that. You know what? Let's actually go real quick for the UI, and let's inspect the page. It is a little bit slow because I'm installing Guild Wars 2. I just wanted to try this game. Yeah, so you can see here I am generating a unique style, a unique class, sorry, for each of my elements. This is the benefit of using styled components. So anyways, just for your general information, this is how the class is actually created in styled components. Yeah, so this is what I wanted to say about these ID pages. It's going to be actually similar inside every page, so I'm not going to go over every one of them. Okay, so now we're going to go to the list. The interesting part. So let's go to components, shared, and list. First of all, the convention usually is to have index file, which is the main file, the root file, and if I want to have other files, I just call them by name. So we have the episode result and we have the location result. These are actually, if we go to episodes, for example, so you can see each one of these containers is a result. In this case, this is episode result and this is the UI that I'm rendering. So how does the list know which results I'm going to render? So let's check it out. First of all, let's start from the top. We have interface as usually, and we pass here a generic type. Usually it's just a T, but I guess this stands for type. And the results are going to be an array of T. Okay, so this is how we define a generic type. We're going to have also on title click, but it doesn't matter for us now. And the next thing is we're having two helper functions. The first one is going to be isEpisode. It's going to check if the result is actually episode. And the second one is going to check if the result is location. And how do we check it? We can say that the result can be either episode or location, and it returns us a boolean. So the return here, we check if air date, which is a field inside episode. If you go to the episode interface, you will see this field exists only in in episode. So we take a unique field and we check if air date in result. This will give us a boolean answer. If this returns true, that means that the result is an episode. And if this one returns true, if dimension in result, this one will that means that the result is location. And this is basically the helper functions. And inside the actually I have here another helper function that actually renders the list depending on which result we have, if this is an episode or if this is a location. So what I do here is I take the first result. Remember that it can be empty array, so I have to check if the results have any length. Basically, the if statement is if the results have any length and the result is episode. I'm doing this check with the first result. Then I'm going to render a list of episode result. So a list of this episode result. And by knowing, let's say that if I'm inside this if statement, that means that the result array is going to be episodes. So I can know that, and I can say to Typescript that the results are going to be as episode array. And then I just map through this episodes array. And if I say this statement over here, I will get the results, and inside the episode result, Typescript will know that the result is an episode. So I will have all the autocomplete and all the fields related to episode. And basically I'm doing the same if statement, and I'm checking if is location, and then I'm rendering the UI for location result. And the rendering of the list itself. So this is the actual component that renders the list. So anyways, I'm getting the T, and it can be episode or location. Basically T extends episode or location, and then I pass, basically I can destructure the props that I'm getting. So results and on title click are going to be list prop and list prop with T. Inside this list, I'm doing render list with the results, and let me actually over this. You can see here parameter results are an array of T and the on click. But let me actually here I think I also should type this because I'm not sure why it's any. Yeah, so anyway, this is a little bit about generics in TypeScript. And just to demonstrate what is location result or episode result, I'm just going inside here, and from this point I can I can guarantee that the result is going to be episode, because all the logic of deciding which result I'm rendering is coming from the render list with this do if statement. Yeah, so here I can comfortably render the results according to the UI that I need. I can comfortably destructure all the properties from the result, because I know that this is an episode. So here is the air date field that I was checking. And basically this is it for this project. There are probably some things that I didn't mention, like titles and cheap, but it's not very interesting, to be honest. Cheap is just, you can actually go to the GitHub repo and just check it yourself if you want. The cheap is just rendering text. It's nothing too special over here. Yeah, so this is it for my explanation. Hope you like this type of content, because in my opinion, instead of just typing everything from scratch and doing like a 3 hour long video, I explained pretty much everything like in an overview kind of point. And if you like this type of content, please like the video, comment, leave me a comment. I'm thinking maybe to continue to do it in the next one. I think that I really want to try to create a fully working WhatsApp clone. What I mean by fully working, it's not just like the basic YouTube videos that have some rooms and stuff like that, like actual WhatsApp clone that looks exactly like the desktop version, and uh, it has authentication, login system, chatting with other people, um, like everything that you can, maybe even picture, adding pictures and emojis and stuff like that. I really think about doing this side project next. Just post me in the comment if you want it to be like from scratch, or just this type of this type of overview of the project. And yeah, that's it. So I'll see you on the next one.